Hi, my name is Lee, and today I have a new background. What? Today I thought I would do a wrap-up of my summer videos. I think I'm going to just start doing quarterly wrap-ups. Every 3 months, 4 videos maybe, 3 videos a year or something. Of wrap-ups, that seems doable to me. I also want to mention that I did finish Army Tool Friend by Charles Dickens. I'm going to have a whole review up for this in my TBR Jar series, and you can see what book I'm going to be reading next in this series. Let's start by talking about My Last Summer with Cass by Mark Heartily, illustrated by Mark Heartily. He is one of my favorite authors. I loved his writing in the Akiko books, in the Miki Falls books, Brody's Ghost, and so when I saw that he had a new one, I wanted to read it really quickly, and I loved it, and it was really good. It's about 2 friends who are both artists, and they both start having different philosophies for their art. We have our main character who is very conservative, kind of nice, quirky art kind of styles, and then her best friend who wants to do more dark, moody, edgy work. And how during one summer right before college, they decide to spend the summer together, and their friendship kind of implodes. And I loved this so much. As an artist, and just also having friendships that have broken over life philosophies or whatever. It just was really nice, and I liked it a lot. And the art is always really good because it's Mark Heartily, and he is an excellent artist. He has a YouTube channel where you can look at his art if you want to. The other graphic novel I wanted to talk about was Midas by Ryan North, illustrated by Braden Lamb and Shelley Perrone. It is a sci-fi retelling of the Greek myth of King Midas and the Golden Touch. So it's about these 3 space explorers who are these kind of mercenaries, and they're trying to stop the evil Federation Republic people. And to do that, they're trying to find the Midas weapon, which is actually King Midas, and they don't know it. It just was really well done, really clever, really great concept, really interesting concept, and I feel like it was well executed. It was quite a bit more intense than I was expecting from the art style, just with death and destruction. But I really enjoyed it. So, I keep seeing it places now, and I'm like, yes, go read that book. It's so good. At the end of my last wrap-up video, I was talking about Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson and how obsessed I was with it, and my obsession continued until I read the whole original trilogy. I have not gotten to a Box in the Woods, so I'm not going to talk about that at all. Ignore that book. We're going to talk about the trilogy, though, of Truly Devious, The Vanishing Stair, and The Hand on the Wall. Truly Devious is about a wannabe detective named Stevie Bell who is going to the Ellingham Academy because it had an infamous past of having a double murder and a missing child and an unsolved case. And the Ellingham Academy is for geniuses, and so they allow her to come and attempt to solve the crime. And then other kids start getting killed, and a new Truly Devious is at work. I really enjoyed the series. I feel like it had some pretty major faults. I mean, a lot of people talk about those faults whenever they review this series, and I get it. The main love interest for Stevie is a jerk, and I don't really like him either. I wanted more of the flashbacks, actually, for me. Like, I wanted more of a parallel storylines going on in the past and the present, which didn't really happen. My favorite of the 3, I think, is The Vanishing Stair. I feel like it built really well on the first book, while I felt like the last book was a little bit of a letdown. Not entirely, but I felt like just some of the reveals were like, yeah, okay. I wanted the reveals to be a little bit more like, But I really enjoyed the series, and I'm looking forward to A Box in the Woods. So I also read Judge This by Chip Kidd. This is based on a TED Talk that he did. So I guess you could probably just watch the TED Talk, and if you like the TED Talk, then you can read the book. But I found the book at my library, and I was like, this seems interesting and cute and fun. And so I read it, and I really enjoyed it. It's Chip Kidd, who's a graphic designer and creator of book covers, talking about his process, basically. It's very easy to go through. As someone who does design stuff, artist, it was really interesting for me to see another person's process. So in my book haul video, I talked about The Cul-de-Sac War by Melissa Ferguson briefly. I wanted to go a little bit more in depth. This book is about Bree Leek, who is... On the back, makes it sound like she's trying to get a house. She actually has this house. She has a roommate in this house, but she's trying to get permission to own the house from her parents, because this was her grandmother's house. She loved her grandmother's house, and her parents just want to sell it and give it away to some stranger. And she's like, no, I have to have this house. And her parents are like, okay, you can have this house as long as you stay at a job for over a year. And she's an actress. And she's like, I am this close to getting fired by my theater company. So she is doing everything she can to stay at her theater. When Chip McBride, who is basically Chip from Fixer Upper, basically. Now he's a contractor, and he has just bought a house right next door and is trying to get that fixed up to sell. He and Bree get into all of these arguments and fall in love. It's a little bit more Fixer Upper meets Hallmark, mixed in a little bit of Singing in the Rain and Shakespeare. H.G. Wells. I have been trying to get through these 7 novels. Last year I read Island of Dr. Moreau, as you know. This year I decided to read on my own, without the TBR jar's influence, The Invisible Man. I don't know exactly how much I think of The Invisible Man. I feel like it's going to be a book I have to reread to fully grasp, to really enjoy it. It's of course about this town that suddenly gets all these crimes things, and they're not sure, and there's a mysterious visitor at the inn who you can't clearly see his face, and then it turns out he's done an experiment to himself, and he is invisible, and he's the one committing all these crimes because he was abused throughout college because he's an albino. I mean, there's more stuff going on. There's lots more crime. There's betrayal. There's backstabbing. There's actual stabbing. But I don't know. I just wanted to mention that I've read it now, because now I only have missing 2 of the 7 books. My top 5 for 2021 video, I'd mentioned that I wanted to read a P.G. Wodehouse book. And I did. I read A Pelican at Blandings, which is about Galahad, aka Gally, going to Blandings to help a friend of his godson, get the girl. But while this is happening, Lady Constance has also returned to Blandings Castle and is annoying Lord Emsworth, her brother, and has invited this Lord Sir Knight dude or whatever, who's sexist and a jerk. And Lord Emsworth brings in Galahad to get rid of him, but then the dude keeps bringing his own friends and family and tries to get Lord Emsworth seen by a psychologist. I love Blandings Castle books. I think I've read more Blandings Castle than I've read of Jeeves and Wooster, which is what P.G. Wodehouse is known for. Oh, I love P.G. Wodehouse stories. They almost always have some sort of person trying to steal some painting or necklace or priceless jewel or something for the good of mankind. I enjoy them. Also, from my TBR top 5 video, I read The Marvelous Misadventures of Sebastian by Lloyd Alexander. Marvelous Misadventures of Sebastian is actually not one of my favorite books. To not give you too many spoilers, but this felt like the same plot as Westmark, only with the opposite tone. Westmark is kind of more darker, a little bit more political, a little bit more rebellion. This is more light. It's supposed to be more funny. It's supposed to be quirky, and yet it hits the most of the same cues as Westmark, and it kind of felt weird because of that. So I don't really know how I feel about this book. It took me a while to get into, and I think if you were looking to get into Lloyd Alexander books, these might be a good starting point. But it's also, if you're going to try and get into Lloyd Alexander, this is not the one I would recommend. It might be good for you to read before Westmark, because you can kind of you can read this one, like, oh, this is super enjoyable, and then you read Westmark and you're like, oh, this is the same thing, but then you have the Beggar Queen and the Kestrel and the Beggar Queen, and then you can really delve into Westmark's world in a different way than Misadventures of Sebastian. I did really like the cat. Obviously, I always like the cat. And there were parts with the fiddle, especially, that I really enjoyed. I don't know which one was written first, actually. So maybe this one was written first, and then Lloyd Alexander was like, what if I did that, but only darker with the trilogy? So yeah, kind of a miss for me with this, and I'm very sad. Alas, my favorite author has let me down. I only have like one reread I want to talk about quickly, and that's because it is part of my reading of all of the Betsy-Tacy books. I've been doing this since I started my channel. I've been rereading the Betsy-Tacy books by Heartily. I just got to Betsy Was a Junior. This is the third of her high school year books. And honestly, after Heaven of Betsy and Betsy in Spite of Herself, which are both like very much her trying to do this essay contest in each book, and it just kind of is the same thing each time. But this one really breaks the cycle, and I really enjoy that. So firstly, Tib is back. Growing up, she always was my favorite, so I always love it when she's back. But the other main part of this book is that Julia goes off to college and brings back news and information that Betsy doesn't have about sororities. And Betsy decides to make the first high school sorority called Octo Delta. And it basically becomes a clique. And so it takes up a lot of Betsy-Tacy's and Tib's time, to the extent that they start forgetting to do assignments. They don't make friends with other people who maybe would have been their friends. There's also all this stuff with Joe, where Betsy wants to date Joe Willard, but he is dating Phyllis. But yeah, this is just really cute. And I actually read this book already back in high school. This is probably the only one of the Betsy-Tacy books that I read in high school, because I didn't know this was a Betsy-Tacy book in high school. But there was so much of this book that I do remember, which is really weird for me with rereads, because usually I don't remember that much. And yes, I am tearing a sticker while I'm talking, because I guess this is something I do in videos now, is just remove stickers while I'm talking. Done. Boom. But there's so much of this book that stuck with me about, like, creating cliques and trying to create a sisterhood with rules and regulations, when really sisterhood and friendships aren't based on rules and regulation. It stuck with me in a way I didn't think I would, and I think this is the one. Okay, so the last book I want to talk about is a book I just read and finished yesterday, but I wanted to talk about it so bad, which is The Lost Kingdom of Bamarre by Gail Carson Levine. This is the prequel to The Two Princesses of Bamarre, which was one of my favorite books in middle school times. I really love The Two Princesses of Bamarre, so when this came out in 2017, I was like, I gotta read that. And then I saw it for cheap on some sale or whatever on a website, and so I bought it in paperback. And then it sat on my shelf because I've been kind of not sure when I wanted to read this book. It's kind of a hard book to read since I read the original book so long ago, and I'm like, should I reread that book? But this is a prequel, so I shouldn't have to read that book, and that might be confusing to me. So this book is about Peregrine, who is the adopted daughter of Lord Tove and Lady Clausine, and they are Lochte, and the Lochte are these like warrior people who have invaded Bamarre and have put all of Bamarre into servitude for the people. And Peregrine, aka Perry, gets visited by a fairy, Helena, and told that she is not actually Lochte, she is Bamarre, and she must go save her people. A lot of people talk about how this is a subtle retelling of Rapunzel, which it is, but this is even more retelling of Moses and the Exodus. And I think that's probably why I love it so much. I think it's vaguely annoying that you took out all the religion out of a Bible story. But Gail Carson Levine did this really well, and I think if people who are Christian read it, I think they will see the stuff that is very much based on Moses and enjoy it and not feel upset over it, so I gave it 5 stars. The Rapunzel stuff is really in, like, this part of the book, and then the rest of it is Moses in the wilderness kind of attitude. I don't think this book should have been connected to the Two Princesses of Bamarre. I feel like this should have just been its own world. Maybe even just connected to the Ella Enchanted book, which I haven't read, but maybe that would have been better, or The Fairest, or Ever, or... Gail Carson Levine is completely capable of creating a whole new world and having a new book and having everyone read it without having it be connected to one of her original books. It's been a long time since I read Two Princesses of Bamarre, so maybe I was missing connections that I would have known otherwise. Gail Carson Levine is just a really solid middle grade author. She does really great work. I love her, and this did not let me down, which I was worried it was going to, and it did not. So there's that. And also just magic boots. Whenever there's magic boots, it's the best. The book is going to be really good if there's magic boots in it. I'm just going to say that, okay? I mean, there's also a magic tablecloth, and magic tablecloths are also really cool. Okay? And now I really want to read The Two Princesses of Bamarre, which is like half the length of this, which is another thing where I was a little like nervous about, because I'm like, this is like 3 times the size of the original book. But yeah, I swallowed this like whole, and it was great, and I almost choked, but it was worth it. That's my wrap up for you, my viewers, today. If you like this video, you can hit the like button, click the notification bell, and hit subscribe. Those things, you know them. If you have any questions or have read any of these books, you can comment that down below. Maybe you can also just talk to me about what you're currently reading. What's floating your boat? What do you really enjoy reading right now? What did you swallow whole and almost choke on, but you just gave it 5 stars anyway because it was so good? I hope you're having a lovely afternoon and are reading good books. Bye! Okay. Take who knows what. This is going to be really weird for me to edit because I'm like sitting so weird in all of it. I actually think I might have hurt myself earlier, so falling off this rickety little stool. Please do not fall on top of me. Anything up there. Na 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 na. That's not working. Set up.